Disgusting wife, lie while I have evidence. I discovered something yesterday that made me feel utterly betrayed and heartbroken. My wife had been inviting a man over every weekend while I was out with my kids at a weekend activity. She had been using her computer an extraordinary amount in the previous few weeks, and I had begun to worry that something was wrong. I made the decision to monitor the house in order to verify my suspicions. My fears were realized to my utter dismay when I noticed a disheveled-looking man enter our house. I was seeing things that I couldn't believe. I experienced a range of emotions, chief among them heartbreak. I made the decision to wait and see what my wife would do rather than confront her straight away. My wife called me later that day and asked me to wait an hour before coming home. At that point, I realized she was attempting to hide her misdeeds. I made an effort to appear normal when I arrived home and chat to her. After some time, I inquired as to whether anyone had visited the home while I was gone. She vowed to God and our kids that she had been by herself the entire time as she met my eyes directly. I found it hard to believe. As I became aware of how dishonest she was, my heart fell. She didn't simply bring a stranger into our house. It was also the fact that she could lie to my face so well. I had the stomach flu. She continued to deny everything when I challenged her about it, even claiming that I didn't believe her. I had a strong sense of betrayal and mistrust for my wife at that moment. It was agonizing to consider that she might have been having a sexual encounter in our bed. It was a challenging position, but I knew I had to face her about what she had done and decide what to do next. Despite seeing her image, I chose not to confront her. The lawyer will serve her with some documents in a few days. She led a luxurious life and will be content to become homeless and beg for cigarettes when she becomes a hobo in a few weeks. In this relationship, I have never cheated on her or been an at-hole. She cheated previously, but only after putting in a lot of effort, and she's a terrible alcoholic. 15 years of wedlock. I don't feel down. I'm glad to throw this repulsive object in the street. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. Holy poop, I'm so sorry, man. I'm glad you can finally put your foot down. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I hope you got enough evidence and separate cleanly. Redditor follow-up. Stay strong and follow through with the divorce. The sooner you can get her out of your life, the sooner you will heal and find the right person to give her the life you deserve. Redditor 2. Poor kids. Redditor 3. Wow, so sorry to hear this, dude. Looks like you know exactly what to do. Wish you speed in your recovery and new life. Story 2. X continues to post about me. About 3 or 4 months ago, I posted my experience here. I have essentially followed my NC ever since the last D-Day. She has called me from restricted numbers and set up new Snapchat and email accounts to contact me. I didn't answer or acknowledge any of these tries. They ceased at the start of June after she shared a picture of herself and her new bee with one of her numerous apps. I don't have her on Facebook, but have a mutual buddy who told me. All was quiet until yesterday, when she sent me an email from a different new email address to let me know that she was still waiting for us to have a courteous conversation so we could put this matter to rest. My friend has complied with my request not to let me know about anything she says or posts about me, but because she lately stepped up her communication, I questioned her yesterday to see whether anything had been mentioned. She informed me that for the past 2 months, my ex has alternated between posting on social media about how great life is in this newer relationship that enables her to go out clubbing and other things, as well as posting about how I was never controlling or anything. My complaint is that I constantly persuade myself not to care about the lies and smears she posts about, even though I only ever suspected and never knew for sure. I am more worried by it than I had anticipated now that it has been proven. Do you have any idea why they do this? Is it not enough that she has to hurt and deceive me in addition to moving on to enjoy this new relationship and go out to clubs and travel? But I must also make it appear as though I am a monster playing victim. Even though I know she wants me to confront her, it's harder than ever not to reach out and do it. Will she ever become bored or go on for more, which will let me go? Update. I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone who shared their tales and support. I absolutely needed it to strengthen my determination in taking this Nasi stance. It is incredibly helpful to constantly remind myself that I am not at all alone or experiencing this journey alone, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Story 3. Pro-Wedding Revenge. Note that this is not my tale. I just thought you guys might like it after finding it on another Reddit thread. I was collaborating with an incredibly kind couple as a photographer. Everything was how it should have been until cocktail hour. The groom approached my partner and me as we were setting up the reception and asked the DJ if he could play a video for his wife. It must be a cute slideshow or something, we figure. Toasts are made, and then the video begins to play. The footage was from a pie, and it turned out that the bride was having an affair with the best man. The entire space fell silent. The best man follows the bride as she exits, but the groom's father knocks him away. Everyone else ultimately decided to stay and enjoy the party. I ended up photographing the groom's second wedding because they were such great folks. I questioned him about why we went through with it after learning that they had a prenup. If adultery could be shown at the time of divorce, the offending party still owed the other $15,000 in debt. I specifically asked the groom in the original post here. It was a condition that the bride's father, a lawyer, included. It seems that her older sister had cheated on husband, and the legal part had been completed before the ceremony, as many people do these days. Legally, they were already wed. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. Why would a cheater accept a prenup like that? Answer. Either she was stupid enough to think she wouldn't get caught, or she wasn't cheating when she signed the prenup. My money is on the former. Cheating in the first place is a stupid idea. Never works out. Redditor 2. Spend $30,000 on a wedding, take home $15,000 from court. 1310. Would do if in his shoes. Redditor follow-up. Assuming it was a traditional wedding, the father of the bride pays for the wedding. Redditor 3. I feel like parties that start out as train wrecks usually end up being the most fun. Hope the groom still got swifty. Redditor follow-up. Take off your pants and your panties. Shit on the floor. Time to get swifty in here. Story 4. Cheat on me. Enjoy your new life. Let me start by saying that this is a fictitious account. All the names and other details have been changed for privacy. Also, this is not my story. A friend of a friend experienced this. To the narrative. My pals and I occasionally hang out with a man we'll name Mark. Currently in his 40s, Mark is happily married to a woman, and they have 2 teenagers as children. I'll try to retell this tale as accurately as I can based on what Mark told us. As you are all aware, having a spouse who works a 9-to-5 job, lives in a small town, and has grown older than you can make married life monotonous at times. So you make an effort to keep life exciting. You adopt a dog, begin some new hobbies, etc. Mark at least believed this. He also believed that his joyous existence would continue indefinitely. Wrong. Via word of mouth, Mark learned that while his wife, let's call her Mandy, was pursuing her own interests while he was playing sports, working, and trying to liven up their monotonous lives. Hobbies that included having steamy, passionate encounters with a neighboring town's male. He initially didn't care about the rumors since, well, they were just rumors. Yet, Andy's actions started to change in some way. She stopped having fun with Mark, started acting aloof, stopped conversing in favor of yelling and becoming irritated, etc. That persisted for several months. Mark thought something was strange about this. So one time after we finished playing soccer, he asked us what to do. We offered numerous suggestions, including addressing her. Yet Mark didn't want to endanger his marriage because of a rumor and some mood swings. As a result, he acted like any rational individual would. He installed cameras across the entire house. And I'm talking P-caliber material here. He had cameras pretty much everywhere, but his kids' rooms, including the bathroom, living room, and bedroom, living room, and bedroom. Everything calmed down for a few weeks after he gave us an update on his new pastime and setup. We went out for a couple beers a few weeks later, after soccer practice. We asked Mark what was wrong because he didn't seem quite like himself. He revealed to us that he discovered Mandy was indeed cheating on him after several nights of reviewing. They had been together since high school and had been married for more than 20 years when she betrayed him. They also had 2 sons. The phase of getting even is now. He held off on directly confronting her. Mark created a strategy. Getting the guy's phone number was no trouble for him because he only lived a few towns away. You're all aware of the annoying telemarketers who phone to try to sell you stuff, right? Mark contacted the man pretending to be one while he was trying to sell him some body cleansing pills and others. He was quite a smooth talker and didn't have any trouble hooking the man despite the fact that he was overweight. He obtained the man's initial and last name, which he already knew, residence, SNE, place of employment, and a few other pieces of information that aren't very relevant to the plot. He informed the man that he was entered in a drawing for various prizes from the employer he worked for and promised to keep in touch if the man won anything. After that, part 2 followed. On a Friday, he loaded everything Mandy owned, clothes, jewelry, collectibles, and other items, into their family car while she was at work. Everything she had fit readily into their Volkswagen Touran because of this. He informed Mandy they were taking a trip when she got home from work. She was first opposed to it, but once more his slick talking quickly won her over, and she boarded the van with him. Prior to that, he drove the boys to one of our friends' homes because they weren't yet 18, and because he is a responsible parent. You ask, where did they go? Do you recall what he said about the man Mandy was fooling with? You must be aware of the solution. Unfortunately, or very funny, Mandy was clueless. He drove her and all of her possessions to the guy's house, called him while driving, and asked him to come outside. He declared that he had won the top prize and was en route to giving it to him in person. Mandy was still in the dark. She believed he was simply playing a joke on one of his friends. I think you've figured out by now that she's not the world's smartest person. Imagine the expressions on her and the guy when he pulled into the garage. Here's your reward, sir, he said, shaking the man's hand and assuming that he knew what it was. Took one more look at Mandy's pale face before turning to leave. As he was better off than she was, he was granted custody of both children. He also informed the judge that he was divorcing her because of her infidelity. As far as we know, this all occurred last year. The guy was an great asshole, and she quickly dumped him with a few beatings and visits to the Urine police station. After some time and a lot of booze, Mark was able to move on from her, but he and his boys are doing great. Even though they are both old enough to understand that their mother is to blame, they hardly ever interact with her when they visit. On a few occasions, she made an attempt to re-enter Mark's life, but he did the wise thing and urged her to go straight away. As we went out for a few beers and watched soccer once more, he related this tale to us. I was laughing so hard as I imagined everything that I had to use the restroom to prevent myself from urinating. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We are not from the USA, so it's not an Essen. It's a tax number, and I guess he requested it so that it would sound more credible because so many people seem to get held up on it. Edit 2. Several people are interpreting my presentation of Mark's narrative quite literally. For instance, how he managed to fit everything from her car. Of course he couldn't. And perhaps he later hired some movers. Just picture the vehicle being filled with whatever suits your fancy in preparation for a journey. As I mentioned, I'm writing this from memory, so your careful eyes may not see everything add up. Be cautious. I also missed the custody hearing in court, but the kids live with him in alternate weekends with their mother. When I inquired how it was going, they said it was really petty since she was trying to win their approval and make them believe she wasn't at blame. I trusted them because they're currently 16 and 17 years old. I guess I should apologize for what I did. And last, is this narrative untrue just because he owns the children's rights? I am aware of how things operate in the USA, yet judges here seem to consider all factors. They would rather give them to someone who is better able to care for them. This covers their pay, residence, and behavior in court. Get off your American high horse because not all nations are corrupt and dominated by women. Story 5. Psycho X gets my egoless revenge with a side of heavy-duty karma. The following incident took place between 13 and 8 years ago, and I apologize in advance for the length because it is a bit complicated. I dated a college girl for 9 years after meeting her there. On the verge of my 29th birthday, we split up. I moved to a new city to start over and be closer to my dad, stepmom, and half-sisters because I'm close to them. And of half-sisters because I'm close to them, and it was nice to have family during that. While breakups and divorce are never trauma-free, this one was as close to that as I believe is humanly possible to get. There were no fights and minimal drama. Start fresh, get an apartment, and everything will be fine. Then I encounter she. At first, things with her appeared promising. She was the complete antithesis of my ex. I believed I had struck gold when I met her because she is quiet but kind. Has her life mostly together. My first wife was very preoccupied and terrible with money, is physically a complete contrast, and is wild in the bedroom. However, I really start to like her. We quickly fall in love, move in together, and live the high life. She worked as a corporate accountant, and I managed a respectable little business, so our combined income is over $150,000, renting a luxury apartment, driving 2 brand new cars, and having no children. Everything is fine. But we drink too much together and there may be more underlying problems that I'm not aware of right now. After 6 months of dating and 9 months of getting to know one another, we decide to be married one night in Vegas. I'm still in love, even if the ink on my divorce papers from version 1.0 is barely dry. Overall, my family approves of her. My family adores her. We adopt felines. We discuss trying to conceive a child. She loses a few jobs because she can't show up on Mondays. And I start losing customers as the businesses I have start slashing their advertising budgets. As we upgrade our lifestyle and take on more debt, all of this happens as the housing bubble bursts and the economy collapses. My field, because we are no longer able to spend as much as we once did, the quarterly mini vacations stop, and we are cooking at home rather than eating out 4 times a week. She first complains before becoming irate. A little over a year into our relationship, we essentially stop having S-time. She cheated on me at this time, but I didn't know it because I was stupid and love blind at the time. See, the only other true ability I have at the moment that is marketable. I go out and get a job bartending at a beautiful resort after realizing how much debt we have between our regular bills and credit cards. To help me make ends meet, I also take on 2 additional part-time jobs. Even after I start receiving paychecks, she continues to whine and gives me an ultimatum while placing the responsibility on me. Okay, screw this, I say. Things would have started to improve financially if we had persisted for even a few more months. Instead, she treats me like a mean-spirited, two-faced beat. By scratching her wrist with a Leatherman, rings 911, is taken to the hospital. I get home to police informing me this, and when I go to check on her since she won't talk to me, the security guard throws me out. I use quotation marks because there was a small collection of weaponry nearby that I had purchased for her target shooting pastime, and they were left intact, proving that it was only a publicity stunt. We basically argue for the entire following week, and I give in to all of her demands, including leaving the house, giving her the keys to my new truck, and only taking the possessions I brought into the relationship, roughly enough to fill a small storage space. She is struggling financially, so I sell my office furniture for cash and don't even access the bank account. Instead, I just take my business money and a credit card that I have obtained separately from her. I spend a few months in the Bay Area, struggle financially, and am unsuccessful in getting the job I thought was a lock. I realize that I drink too much and that it has caused a lot of issues in my life throughout this period. I quit drinking and haven't touched a drop since. I'm broke and realize that nothing I try is working, so I return to my hometown, live with my father for a month, find a roommate, and then get a sit retail job. I bike everywhere because I can't afford a car, and my credit is destroyed in part because of her love of using plastic, so I'm facing bankruptcy. I'm 31 years old, and this is incredibly demeaning, but hey, I'm still here, and I've been through bad times before, so this won't last forever. She maintained her house, filed for personal bankruptcy to pay off her bills, kept her car, and began dating a number of men a few weeks after we broke up.
I never inquired about the specifics, but it appears that she also got in touch with a couple of my friends and somewhat disparaged me.
If there weren't 2 additional factors, this would be mildly annoying. I've realized I still love you. That's why you can make me cry so easily. And other Bissell's cis Hallmark movie lines like this. She's putting off the divorce because she doesn't have the money to file, and she keeps in touch under the guise that we need to talk. She engages in unending sit at numerous locations I frequent, including my church, the bookshop I frequent, and the coffee shop next to my house because we live in a smaller, more tightly knit area. Claims I stalked her, I cheated on her, I was physically and emotionally violent against her, and the full 9 yards. This is utter nonsense, but whatever. Some people truly do believe her. In fact, I once received a violent threat from a would-be motorcyclist who was more than twice my age. However, that is not the point of the story. She eventually leaves town after more back and forth and bullshit. There are other lies around this, including that she borrowed some money that she never paid back and charged me a huge overage on our phone bill just before we split the account. Even though my trusting, gullible heart aches, I'm partly pleased to say goodbye to her now that I know she only acts kind to me when she needs anything. She travels to New York to hook up with another man, and 15 minutes later, she is pregnant, mails me divorce papers at last. I soon return it after signing it with all the documents notarized, well-structured and marked. I don't want to participate in this bullshit where she tries to be friends. She gets upset when I act professionally. She messes up filing and accuses me. Whatever, resolve the legal disputes, I say. The child is born 1 week after the divorce is finalized. Thank God she remained silent for the following 2 years. I start developing in my new career, date a new woman, and we are still together 10 years later. Strangely enough, they were acquainted, and she disliked her partly because my ex had cheated on her with her ex-husband while they were considering reconciling for the benefit of the children. Though there were multiple reasons for her distrust, apparently, she always gave my wife an icky, intuitive feeling. So let's go back 2 years. I receive a phone call from my present flame. She recently spoke with a buddy who was her after our breakup for a very little period of time. She is divorcing the baby's father. Conflict over custody exists. He claims to be unsure about its ownership. Will you aid her? Well, even though I don't particularly like or trust her, I say yes because it's the appropriate thing to do. I receive a call with a sob story. The majority of it is implausible. He took the child but believes it to be his. In order to establish paternity, I would need to travel to New York and submit to a paternity test at one of their facilities. In addition, he hit her and installed a GPS tracker on her car, and his brother is a Russian mobster who threatened her. I naturally think that if this woman is talking, it's a lie, so I'm skeptical even without this imaginative story. When she contacts me, her lawyer comes across as an idiot. He sends me a letter that is extremely unprofessional and does not even have a letterhead. Every other legal document I've seen has one. It says verbatim, I am at K.I. I'm the ex-husband of J.K. and was married to her from 6, 7, 8, 9. But this is literally just off a laser printer with the words from the law offices of blah blah printed on it.
I have no right to the child under the law. Really shady.
I schedule my own meeting with a lawyer because I don't want to find myself in a circumstance where I've allowed myself to be legally overlooked. The baby's father finds me on Facebook and messages me before I can leave. I hear a drastically different tale when I speak with him, his attorney, and the unbiased attorney in New York State selects to represent the child's welfare because she had been promiscuous before they started dating and became pregnant so quickly. He was worried. He knows it's his, so he had a paternity test secretly performed before the baby's birth. He caught her with a bottle of vodka when she was driving with the child in the car, and they broke up because she was drinking too much. She stood up in court and asserted that I was the father despite the fact that she had no idea where to look for me. He found me online in 10 seconds, and since I'm a tech guy with a significant online presence, a tech blog, numerous writing credits on publications, my name is a domain, and I've had the same cell phone number for 14 years, among other things. She had no idea where I was. The other beast was also just that. He works as an IT specialist for a university, and his brother is employed by a national carpet cleaning company. Also, just like in our relationship, he never hit her or stalked her, etc. She begins texting me as a result, unaware of what I know. I throw it in the garbage after saying, filled out and on its way back to your lawyer. I'm so tempted to write her a poem about how the truth is coming back to haunt her, but I repress the urge because I'm doing this for their boy and his father, not for her. Therefore, let's keep my ego out of this. I give legal explanations to everyone present in court, inform them that I am certain it is not mine because I haven't been with her since April 15, 2008, and the child's birthday is in September 2009. I remember the date because, due to taxes, I got ducked twice that day. Show that I was hundreds of miles away on the West Coast by explaining when she was in knee, which corresponds to the conception's likely dates. Encourage them to check out her social media accounts, where she has painstakingly tagged herself and taken numerous photos of even their ordinary places. Send a blood sample to a nearby laboratory. Give them risk information about her drinking and sporadic drug usage, including how she abused prescription drugs and was once hospitalized for a mental evaluation after taking far too many pills. She is caught off guard when court is called. It seems that a stack of depositions and a collection of comments from me sealed the deal, exposing the terribly foolish game she was playing. Receives no custody, no support, and a weekly supervised visitation. I bump into her ex-roommate, and although I'm annoyed, I don't act like it by telling her about Jay's con, and then letting her draw out of me the details of our breakup. She is shocked, but she is also a terrible rumor monger, so the news spreads like wildfire. Others I hardly know approach me and express regret for having misjudged me, including the cyclist mentioned earlier. Even though I've long since outgrown the need to check her social media, every few months she appears as a recommended friend, and I amusedly watch as the number of our shared friends declines from triple digits to eventually just 3, For Christmas, the father of the child sends me a sizable Amex gift card that is equal to my weekly income at the time. I phone him and tell him I'm not sure if I can accept it since I don't want him or anybody else to believe I did this as a way to get paid. He almost begs, stating my family was saved by you. In comparison, this is nothing. I'm grateful. We sob while on the phone and later develop a strange, far-off friendship built on respect for one another. Throughout the years, I've even had dinner with him a few times when I had to travel to New York for business. And I always buy because the poor guy has suffered enough from having to co-parent with this train wreck. She still struggles to avoid using alcohol and other drugs, and because she can't consistently be there for her child, she seems to have little interest in their lives. Baby daddy claims she has a history of short-lived relationships with lovers, legal problems, and money problems. I'm in good shape, got remarried 3 years ago, brought up stepchildren, have a respectable level of financial success, and I generally enjoy my life. Granted, a lot of this narrative is just karma at work, but I believe I acted morally, wasn't vindictive, and my actions actually damaged her. Redditor's reaction, Redditor 1. You did well to survive her. She destroyed herself and tried to include you. Redditor follow-up. We're both in a crashing plane and I have the parachute I brought and bought with my money and you want me to destroy it. Sure, or jumps with intact parachute, or jumps with intact parachute. Redditor 2. Kudos for keeping it actually professional and reaping the results of your patience. Redditor 3. I've had a few exes and ex-friends pop up as suggested on Facebook. If you're interested, you can delete them as a suggestion, and they will no longer show up. But, given this story, I can also completely understand the pleasure you get when she died. Hope answer. I did just that several years back, but it was fun when I let it come up. Redditor 4. I dated a girl briefly who was amazing. We hit it off really well and really quickly. I was pretty sure I was going to marry her. Overnight, she changed. She dumped me out of the blue and told the cops she was afraid I was going to stalk and murder her. Not going to lie and say I was a perfect boyfriend. I was too young to be properly sensitive about some childhood trauma, although I maintain the stalking and murdering was completely out of left field. But holy shit, that was a weird relationship, and messed me up for a long time afterwards. Word for the wise. Be wary of whirlwind romances. Don't make life-altering decisions around someone you've known less than a year.